Everyone, my name is Casey Ben. I am with Tripadvisor. Thank you guys for all attending, and I know we're going to be videotaping this, so you'll be able to watch this again and again and again and again. I am here today working with the CVB, Great Lakes Bay region, and coming to you guys to actually give you a little bit of an education on Tripadvisor, titling this Getting the Most Out of Your Tripadvisor Presence, but online presence in general. Honestly, I think a lot of these pieces and tidbits of information transcend Tripadvisor. It can be, any review site, really Tripadvisor social media for anyone looking to attract a traveler. So I look at it that way, even though, of course, I'm coming here and I'm representing Tripadvisor. I welcome any questions. I might actually sidebar or kind of come back after we're going through this, because we have 2 hours allotted. To give you an idea, feel free to get up and take a break. We will probably take a break about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on if there are questions. But just raise your hand or ask questions as we go through, just for the sake of people that are going to be viewing this later, kind of keep everything streamlined and going through. But if you have that question, probably someone else does too, so just don't hesitate. A bit of an idea, because there's a lot of stuff that builds on what I'm going to be talking about. Going in for just a quick Tripadvisor overview. A lot of numbers, so don't feel like you have to memorize them, but it's a little bit of giving you an idea of how the size and where Tripadvisor, the lay of the land is. Impact of reviews, really that return on your investment. How to manage online reputation, which I bet we have a lot of experts in this room. Getting your expertise as well to help other people, and you're probably the champions in the destination. But kind of getting and kicking the tires a little bit more, so little pieces you could always improve on. How to manage on Tripadvisor your actual listing, and then best practices and some frequently asked questions. So getting right into it, Tripadvisor Overview, like I said, a couple of the different numbers. If you're looking at the size of Tripadvisor, and I think everyone, can you guys see that okay in the back? Okay, cool. Some of the text, just let me know if you can't read or have a question on stats. And I am going to be sending this out to you, so like the subscript is basically just the source, so don't worry, like you have to be knowing on any of that. But the size of Tripadvisor is, of course, we're worldwide. That is looking in 49 different markets or actual countries. That's actually 415 million unique monthly visitors. To give that in a little bit better sense to US, we're actually the 33rd largest website. So not even just, of course, the largest travel site in the world, but 33rd largest site, just above Netflix if you're trying to think of traffic-wise. That's actually ComScore, if anyone's familiar, but you can go online and actually check those month to month and kind of look at where it's lying. The other thing is just how many reviews we have and how many different businesses are actually listed on Tripadvisor. So it's always growing and updating the numbers all the time. You can check online and do quick searches there. The other thing that I like to note about Tripadvisor is it's not just used specifically for someone that's looking to book a trip, or even someone that's like kind of, a little bit planning, do I go to this hotel or do I go to this restaurant versus the other? It's kind of how it started, but people are using this for their entire cycle. This is what this is representing here. This kind of, they're getting a little bit of awareness. They're actually going in, and then, they're considering, just like that phase, what they're going to be doing. Comparing, of course, booking, but then they're actually going back and reviewing, and that kind of starts the whole process over again. These statistics are actually showing why a destination, why an actual business would be promoting themselves on Tripadvisor, because you're actually able to change the person's interest of where they're going to be going. 76% of consumers are actually researching multiple destinations, only having a general region determined, and then 40% of consumers are actually recalling booking a different destination than the one they originally started researching. So you're actually able to affect the person where they're looking to go, where they're actually ending up, and they're using Tripadvisor throughout that whole cycle. So starting in on that return on investment. So it's really interesting to look at, people talk about what is going to be the most influential. A lot of people are saying the word of mouth. But the interesting thing is that word of mouth now, and we were actually just talking about this before we started, is becoming online. It's becoming social media. More specifically, it's becoming the reviews, and this is actually a study done by Focusrite, and I'm pretty sure as I'm looking through that. Yeah, it's Focusrite on Tripadvisor specifically. That's 59% of consumers found that reviews on websites like Tripadvisor were their most influential when making a travel decision. You have a lot of the other obvious thing, whether it's YouTube, travel blogs, ads on travel companies, that's different people here and there, and then pictures and videos on those other social media websites. But I really like to look at it and see this is really just the new word of mouth in this day and age. You're looking at a travel site, and what's interesting too will come up a little bit, other social media things like Facebook. That's actually, you can see that, Mama Ruth or something over in Florida went to Chicago and went to this place. It's going to show up on Tripadvisor from her Facebook, and you can see that that person ended up going there. Then you go out and you actually talk to that person and such, get a conversation going. So it's just where conversations are starting now. They often are starting online, whether it's Tripadvisor or other review sites or social media. So again, looking at that return on your investment, I have kind of stats here for hotels and then restaurants and attractions. More, again, from Focusrite that was doing this. This is third-party information. 96% of travelers consider reviews were important when planning, booking their actual hotel. And 83% say that they usually or always reference Tripadvisor reviews before making their decision. The other piece is restaurants and attractions. They are a little bit different, but 85% will or usually always reference Tripadvisor reviews. And then 97% of consumers are referencing Tripadvisor reviews before deciding on an attraction. Sorry, restaurant first and then attraction. So kind of tidbits to go back. Really, we're trying to think about, and this is the Facebook information, but with all of this, how to manage our time best and why we're actually deciding to spend time on using Tripadvisor, other social media, and really why we'd be managing the reputation. And it's coming to a T here in a second with thinking exactly why, which is probably your budget. 35% of new reviews actually come from Facebook connected users. And afterward, we can actually go on and I could show you how that looks if you haven't used Tripadvisor and connected your Facebook before. It'll actually show up like I was kind of referring to, show you that, okay, your friend over here actually reviewed this place, so you can see them pop up, see their review, and then quickly go and either talk to them or see just all of that on Tripadvisor. So this is probably one of the biggest ones, is the ability to affect your budget. This is a study by the Center of Hospitality Research. It found these three pieces, and don't worry about any of the information. If you have more questions about it, you can actually go onto the site. I'm going to show you something at the end where you can go to these full studies. A lot of people, I'm an economics major from college, so I like to go in and see what we're talking about, what these stats are. You can do any of that. I have all the source in here. But they found guests are actually visiting Tripadvisor more frequently to booking. Properties with stronger reputations across all channels perform better overall. And the big one that I always come back to and reference, it's accommodation focused, but it's the easiest way to actually do this research is with a hotel because they have so much data. If an accommodation can increase its review score on a 1 to 5 bubble rating by 1 point, it could actually increase its prices by 11.2% and still maintain the same occupancy rate. So you think about that, I again think it really transcends not just from accommodation, but into any other business that's for travel. So that could be tours, it could be like we're talking about meeting planners and conventions and conferences. It could be for restaurateurs. It's just the easiest way. They were actually showing this as proof through this study that this could be done. That's just huge. If you're able to increase your reputation, you get more money basically without doing much more. So how do we do that is really what we're coming here and getting into. Managing the actual online reputation. So research begins, 80% of people actually go to the internet giving kind of those qualifications of when they first are looking for information specifically for travel. That's going to be a customer survey from, and I keep trying to read this because it's so small. Digital savvy, how digital savvy are people? So the challenge is our time, like I keep alluding to. What are we going to do? Our online reputation is going to be all these different pieces. Review sites, which often are already there. People are reviewing you. It doesn't even have to just be Tripadvisor. I won't mention the other competitors. They're there. Blogs, something that you created or someone else has created. Social media, that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. The list goes on, and we could probably take hours just looking at all kinds of different cool new ones that have started up. OTA sites, the Expedias of the world, or even the ones that are up and coming. You know, we won't talk about Airbnb, but some of those get in the mix too. So how are you going to end up looking at all of those different things and trying to prioritize your time? I think Tripadvisor and the tools that we have for the management center that we're actually going to get into help in a really good way to actually manage the online reputation. You're able to, for one, monitor your actual review performance activity. Two, then collect reviews and customer feedback so you can actually encourage reviews, promote that recognition and promote that actual customer feedback, and then even respond. So it gives you kind of that full channel, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it also makes it so it's not like some other social media where you end up having like a whole wall post and argument and everything like that. I think it's very succinct and a pretty clean way, trusted if you look at a lot of the different statistics on information from the consumers for when you're trying to manage your online reputation. So this is a little bit of an interesting look. We were looking at that cycle of people that are researching and how they're doing that. And this is more of on the business side. We could start anywhere here, just kind of starting on the top left. Travelers are finding your business on Tripadvisor. You're getting more reviews and better visibility. Reviews are then solicited from all customers. That's kind of your process. And it's kind of going all through a loop, as you see. You're ended up getting that better reputation by getting more reviews. We'll talk about the actual algorithm in a second and how your ranking's decided on Tripadvisor. But by getting and encouraging those reviews is actually affecting your ranking. So we'll get right into that. It's a huge cycle. I guess it's kind of a common theme here, all the cycles. So how to really take control and start managing your listing. Looking to you guys, does anyone already, by a show of hands, manage their listing, have control, admin of their listing? We have one, two, a couple people. So it's free. It's free to be listed on Tripadvisor. It's also free to take control and manage your listing. And we could start going into that a little bit too if people have questions, if they've never tried that. The way that you would actually go in, and I know you probably can't read the, oh, that's moved a little bit, but it's easier to see. Tripadvisor.com/owners is if you're already on Tripadvisor and then you want to go in and start to claim your listing, start responding to reviews, and we'll get into a little bit more of what you can do with that. If you're not, oh yeah, good question.
Can you have destination listings? Is that a thing yet?
In a way, so it's a really good question. Having destination listings, we do, like Saginaw, Michigan has its own destination. It's just not going to be reviewable.
Okay.
So is that what you were asking?
Is it manageable?
It is in a way. So destinations have the opportunity. You can upload photos, for instance, and then you can do a lot of little things here and there. There are forums a lot of people aren't aware of for the destination as a whole. Okay. And there are paid opportunities, of course, that we're working with the Great Lakes Bay region where they're taking control of the actual page. There's not as much free, but the caveat or the one actual, I don't want to say workaround because it's kind of like another tool you could do, is get for your destination the visitor center posted. And that ends up representing a lot of the time the destination. That would be posted as an attraction. And then you can start managing reviews there. And a lot of people are going there. No one thinks to put that on. And then you end up getting a lot of reviews too.
Cool. I'm from the visitor center in Frankenmuth, so that's why I'm
Oh, okay.
So.
Welcome.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's a good question. And we'll start looking at more of that stuff after, so feel free to come back to that and be like, hey, what is this? And we can look on site and everything. Okay. It's a good question. Yeah, so I was just getting into this. If you're not listed on Tripadvisor, really pretty easy, tripadvisor.com/get-listed-new. There are a couple ways to do it if you wanted to do a review, but if you, as the business owner, go and do a review, it's actually technically, like you're not supposed to do that. You'd be potting up yourself and kind of tooting your own horn. We don't like that because, of course, you could go in and review other people and stuff like that. So this is the proper way to be doing it, and you actually get to claim and manage your listing, respond to reviews and such. So accessing the management center. I keep saying it, but this is actually putting it out in writing, and you guys are going to get this in your hands, so a little bit easier to remember. You can optimize your listing in a lot of different ways, whether that's making sure, and you get a little bit of priority for this, making sure that your website's correct, making sure that phone number and hoteliers are a little bit different. You probably already know this. There is a paid product for hoteliers with their listing. but other people, attractions, and the restaurateurs, you're going to look at things like address being correct, even be able to report a review. Sometimes a review just isn't posted to the right place or location, or maybe it really sounds like this person just never went and I don't know why they're reviewing. So you get to report things like that and be able to optimize your listing in that best way, including choosing the main photo that you want to appear there. Manage the reviews, we're going to get into that a lot more, but tracking performance. All of this is free. We're not talking about anything paid. I've referenced a couple things that you can get into, but everything we're talking about today is just free stuff that you get to do through Tripadvisor with Tripadvisor. So tracking performance can be like how your ranking is going from month to month, or your review metrics, so how many you're responding to, and all those little pieces here and there. You can even now, one of the cool things is look at competitors, grab what you think and just say, hey, I want to look at these 3 people, and grab them in and see how you compare it there. This is just a little bit of a snapshot. I like actually having examples because you can kind of see the platform and how it works. We are actually, as you see Japanese up over here, in 29 different languages. I'm going to get that right. So you could end up managing your reputation across all those, but I'd probably just start with English and whatever, if you have another language that you're really good at. That's going to be where most of your reviews are probably coming in English. But it's not very hard at all. You get to do the general information. It's just pretty easy, straightforward. You can end up doing a lot of different things. You have your hours that are listed, all kinds of just like your menu if you're a restaurant, anything there. So upload managed photos, I've already mentioned it, but I really like also coming back and showing you and giving you kind of reasons why you should be uploading and managing your photos. 73% of Tripadvisor users actually say that photos from other travelers help them to make a decision. It's interesting, there's a lot of different stats around people looking, using photos, using videos, people that view over 20 different photos. So this is thinking how many photos is enough. It's kind of the question I'm looking at. If they view over 20 different photos, they're a lot more engaged, therefore they're more likely to actually end up attending or going into your, whether it's a destination, whether it's your business, anything like that. So trying to engage people, the more photos you have, you're going to have more engagement there. So in getting into really best practices now, this is kind of where you're coming in, and I think, and I hope a lot of people in the room are already probably pros at this, but we can always get a little bit better. So bear with me a little bit, feel free to ask some questions, and then we'll actually end up getting in a little bit later to how you guys would end up doing things. So this is, again, Cornell University research. It's really interesting to see this because a lot of people I've heard, maybe not a lot, but there's a love-hate sometimes with review sites, right? They say, oh, it's just bad reviews and I'm getting all these negative ones. The early reviews for like a new business actually skew negative. So that ends up, as the reviews increase, that kind of evens out and the ratings are more and more positive. Kind of makes sense too when you think about it. You have a new business, you don't have all the operations down, there might be like some hiccups here and there, so it ends up kind of evening out as time goes by. What's really interesting, and we're going to get to in the next slide, is the average. Reviews are mostly positive, but positive reviews are actually more common than negative reviews on Tripadvisor. This was an examination of 1.2 million, or 1.28 million reviews, and over 70% actually had a review score of 4 or 5 bubble rating, 5 being the best, of course. So I know this has actually increased a little bit. I think it's a 4.17 last I looked. But this is based on the information that I have for the study. The average review score on Tripadvisor is a 4.12. And you can kind of see how that breaks down. We're going to even get into a lot of ways that you can affect and see your ranking a little bit better and improve. And I'm actually going to work with a CVB to show you guys kind of that life cycle of what Saginaw, for instance, had maybe a year ago versus now for like average review and ranking score. So exactly into the ranking score, that algorithm that I keep alluding to. There's 3 things that go into your actual ranking on Tripadvisor. One of them is going to be a quantity, just the pure number of how many reviews do you have. The next one is going to be the quality, probably the most obvious. The 5 bubble rating being the best, then the 4 bubble rating, and so on and so forth, going down from there. The one that people don't often think of is recency. So if you have more recent reviews on Tripadvisor, those are going to affect your ranking score a little bit more. So a review within the past week is going to affect your ranking score more than a review within a month ago, and then more than a year ago, and so on and so forth. So all of them work together, but if you think about how do I best affect my ranking and then like the actual rating that I have on Tripadvisor, it's going to be getting just plain and simple more reviews, and then hopefully doing your job well so that you're actually getting good reviews, those 4 or 5 bubble ratings. Doing simply that is actually going to be getting more recent reviews. You're going to be getting those quality reviews because you're doing well at your job, right? And then more quantity. So that'll end up increasing that ranking just over time. So taking advantage of management responses. This is something that often comes up and people say, well, I don't need to have a voice. Why would I even respond to reviews? How many do I respond to? A lot of those types of questions. 85% of Tripadvisor users are more likely to book, and again, it's hotel, but I think it transcends. It's just based off the study and information that we have. But 85% are more likely to book a hotel that responds to a travel's review versus a hotel who actually doesn't. And that comes into the next stat, which is 65% of users agree that a thoughtful management response to a bad review improves the impression of a hotel. So a lot of people think when I'm going on social media, I don't want to just argue with the consumer, or I don't really care, that was one person's opinion. It's not really like that anymore, because this, again, is word of mouth. Everyone else is going on, they're trying to see what this was. You get to complete the rest of the story. What ends up happening a lot of the time, what I find, is just there's half of the story told there. It's like, oh, it was horrible and this was breaking down. It's like, well, I'm sorry, we were under construction. We're actually doing really well now. Everything's, our new waterfall is in place or something. It could be anything. And just the rest of that story wasn't told. Maybe the person even got a room comp and they didn't even say that in there. You can talk about those other pieces that the person didn't add in. It gives that full story, and often, just like we're seeing here, the other consumers reading it are the persons that you really want to affect a lot more. So we're looking, again, at what do we do day to day? Like, what are you guys doing that are best practices? There's a lot more that I think we could add to this list, but simple, easy, pretty quick kind of things that you can do just to be on top of your game. For Tripadvisor, you're able to actually set up for review notification emails. That means once you've gone in, you set up, you have the admin access for your actual business on Tripadvisor, you can get an email every time you get a review. I know that can, for big locations, be a little bit annoying, but it can also be really helpful. Just file them away. You can go into those. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it can be so much easier to manage your time and everything. You can see, okay, that's a good review. Maybe I don't need to respond to it, and really be on top of those bad reviews for sure. The big one is responding promptly, and that's always kind of, I'd say, a little bit vague, because everyone's thinking, well, I'm a staff of 1, or I'm a staff of 3 or 5, and I do have one person responding to these, but they're not able to respond all the way. So it's time management. I think everyone's going to be a little bit different when that comes to responding promptly. Do what's going to be best or easiest for you. I'd say that usually the best thing is responding within a week, and then responding within a month if you can't do that, because again, it's completing that story. And prioritizing bad reviews. I can let you know, I don't have the stat in here, but we actually have information where the diminishing returns on responding to reviews, some people like to do all of them, is about 60%. So you start hitting diminishing returns, meaning that you're not getting as much of an effect to the consumers that are reading this once you're responding to over 60%. People are still, you're giving more of that story and everything, but it's not affecting as much. So little tidbits like that can be really helpful when you're trying to do time management here. Saying thank you. Often we can forget it just because we're doing it kind of every day, and when you're just typing it out, it's like, yeah, that's great that you came, and appreciate your advice. Just a thank you for the feedback is a really easy one. Originality is a really hard one that I find. A lot of people like to do just a staple copy and paste. Thank you for your time. Really glad you stayed. Oh, you had this problem. Just email us. And when someone's going back and actually reading that as a consumer, it feels disingenuous a lot of the time. I'm going to give some examples that we'll look at in a little bit, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Like someone's just copy paste. It's like you could have just had that removed, and it would have been the same management response without it. It can be really hard, especially if you're a bigger location, to be responding and being genuine, or original, excuse me, not genuine. End up being sometimes the same thing. Highlight the positive. That's something that often gets hard. Our businesses are our babies. We love what we do. At least I hope a lot of people in this room, you're in this room because you do, and you're trying to manage that expectation, the reputation. But it's sometimes hard to forget because people are just putting down, oh, this is like my life, and you don't like it. What's going on here? Sometimes you have to step back and just, maybe have someone else respond, anything. But definitely going towards that positive and pointing out what did work. Sometimes that's the best way to respond. Try to be actually talking about the next one, their specific comments, but sometimes it's just they didn't like it. So let's talk about the positive here. And the last one is the obvious one that I hope everyone in this room is doing already, which is polite and professional. Kind of sometimes actually very overlooked grammatical errors and such. Something that I went over a little bit and keep coming back to is that you can encourage guests to actually write reviews. So all of the different pieces that you can use are listed here, and we'll go over them a little bit more too. Review Express. Does anyone, by a show of hands, actually use Review Express on TripAdvisor? You know what that is? So Review Express is actually free. You can actually send emails through TripAdvisor to get people to do reviews. So if you're collecting emails and you don't want to pay for a MailChimp or you don't want to pay for any sort of email service, you could just send them out through TripAdvisor. We're going to deduplicate. We're not doing anything with these emails. TripAdvisor, if you aren't already aware, actually puts the consumer first. It often is a little bit frustrating as a business owner if you guys haven't come up to that, because if it's an honest and true review, it's going to be left there because the consumer should be the one that's coming first. The thing about Review Express is that you can end up getting people to get more reviews in this way. That ends up affecting your ranking, of course, as we're kind of thinking about it. Widgets are another one. Widgets are, if we don't have, everyone's not as tech savvy as me going through HTML code, everything like that. We've already generated widgets or HTML coded kind of pieces you can put on your website or in an already generated MailChimp kind of email that you have, any sort of online piece, website. We'll get into it a little bit. It's down at the bottom here. Tripadvisor App for Facebook. You can integrate that way too. Downloadable assets, so that's like if you have a certificate of excellence, congratulations to anyone who does, but that would be an award. You can download that, print it out, be able to post on your own window, anything like that. Reminder cards, that's actually a pretty cool one. We're going to get to, I think I actually have a screenshot of it. Really easy through a partnership that we have with Vistaprint. You can go through, it's in your management centers, usually at the bottom, a little bit of a link. You can order 100 business cards that remind consumers to review your location on TripAdvisor, and it's free. First 100 business cards through Vistaprint, because of the TripAdvisor connection, is actually free. Stickers. Stickers are a really big one. We actually have a lot of stats, and if you could talk to other people who use TripAdvisor, we have a couple people in the room at least, then you'll find that people are actually finding businesses with TripAdvisor stickers. Often they're more likely to go in there as a TripAdvisor consumer specifically. So this is a little bit of a snapshot of a Review Express. Of course, you can choose your different language. I don't usually get into that too much, but if you have a lot of people coming from, I keep going to China because it's an easy one, huge emerging market, but maybe Mexico or sometimes where we're pretty close to Canada, it might be some of the French Canadians coming down and you want to send emails to encourage that sort of travel. That's a good way to be able to do it through Review Express. This is the look where you can actually order those free stickers. And as you see, let's see if my mouse will want to work here. There it goes. This is going to be the business card. So really easy. It sends you through to this link. And this is a little bit of a snapshot of what the visit. It's just a small business card as a reminder. Sometimes that's the easiest way to get into someone's hands and get that reminder for when they're home. Then they're going to actually end up reviewing your business. And Facebook was the last one there. So you can integrate very easily anyone who has a business Facebook page, the Tripadvisor app, and then quickly get people. If we're thinking about it, we're just trying to get more and more of that all connected through all the social media. You think about how Google works with their search engine optimization. You want to have your name and presence over as many places as you can, and then connect them all too. So a lot of different pieces. Just little tidbits that we've kind of already gone over, don't need to get into too much. So then kind of what else? A little bit of things here and there. One thing that was actually new on Tripadvisor, anyone heard of the question and answer? Or it's usually, I just think, a Q&A. Anyone ever done that for their business? So yep, we got one person at least. Every business actually has a Q&A section now, which is pretty cool. It's quick facts for like a hotel. It might be, oh, is there more than one pool? Or is this dog friendly? When did they usually close? Restaurants might be, what do they do for birthdays? You know, little things like that that are common questions that end up coming up. Consumers can respond to this. It's down at the bottom of your page if you haven't found it yet. There isn't always a ton of people that are using it because, like I said, it's new as of this year. And I would say, even though consumers can go in and actually respond, it's great when the management is in that conversation too. So again, try to fit that into the mix. Sometimes there are more urgent ones than others, but just be aware that that's there now. So I've mentioned it, that all of the stuff, all of the different sources is in one place. If you go to tripadvisor.com/Tripadvisor Insights, I know I have the link somewhere. Oh, it's down at the bottom right on this, over there. That's going to be where you can find any of this sort of information if you're looking for Focusrite, and that's why I've tried to source it out so well for anyone who's really looking to grab more. Show it to other people, kind of talk through it a little bit more, get any of those stats to pass along to other people. That's really a great thing. Even beyond that, Tripadvisor Insights, if you have a question, I usually go there when you guys stump me, and it happens every once in a while. So I'll just be sitting on the phone and, yep, okay, what's your question? Sure. And I can usually answer it that way too. So always feel free, everyone can call me if you have questions, but this will often be a really quick, easy way when you're all up at 1 a.m. and trying to respond to a review or figuring out that question for your boss, because we're all working until whenever, right? So customer service and support, talking exactly about that. There's a couple ways. This is a view of a management center. You can see a couple different drop downs here at the top. That's where you can actually get the Tripadvisor Insights if you forget that it's tripadvisor.com/Tripadvisor Insights. Or down at the bottom on the right hand side is actually where you can contact Tripadvisor. It doesn't go directly to me, but it will often get you a quicker response or a quicker actual action. So let's say you had a question on someone that did a review or a photo that you think needs to be taken down. If you don't just go and report it and it gets quickly taken down and you have a further problem, I would go here first. Feel free to contact me too, but this will probably get it handled within a few days to a few weeks. A few weeks can often take that long during like the summer or a busy period, just because there's a lot of people going through. Often it's little quick things here and there that you'll have question for, and it'll be resolved really quickly, 24, 48 hours. So now we get into more of the fun stuff, and you guys are gonna have to be talking now, or I can just keep talking more. But I wanna pause there, ask if there are any questions before we jump into other things and try to get a little bit more interactive. Questions from anyone so far? Yeah, go right ahead.
Other places, some of us here are in the marketing area of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Is that done?
Can you be a little bit more specific? It's a really good question, but
That's, in Detroit, they call it Midtown. This is a conglomeration of neighborhoods from the Old Town, which is a commercial district, the Central Business District where you are now, the hospitals, the parks, the zoo being part of that, cultural amenities outside the neighborhoods in the center of the city. We call it Riverfront Saginaw.
Yep. So there are ways to do that. It's specific to each one. So where you could do more of setting up kind of a tour on Tripadvisor and try to do it that way. To actually bring things together in that sense, if you're not doing it as a destination, kind of like we're talking about, or whether that's Saginaw, it's almost presented that way. It's a good question, because for free, that's what I'm trying to focus on. We can do it, but it's like little tidbits and pieces here and there. It's not too much like creating an entire almost business page or something. I think it's a good point. Let's come back to it when we're on site, because it might start to answer more of your questions and I can point to things. There are groupings of different things for sure. And there are also ways to do something like a city pass might be an idea. I know it's not really getting to your question, so you kind of don't want to do that. But to actually promote something like that, we can show you how you can end up doing, it doesn't have to be like a ticket sale, but something like that on TripAdvisor. So it's a really good question.
I
Probably
may not be able to stay for the duration, but someone will be here.
What's that?
Someone will be here.
Someone will be here from your business. Awesome. And feel free, I can give you a card or they have my contact info, and you'll get this presentation after, which will have my contact info. So reach out with that again, and we could talk a little bit more. I know I was talking actually with Annie a little bit about specifically that, so she has a lot of interest in it. Other questions so far? Cool. Let's get into like a little bit more discussion. Let me know these have a little bit more in-depth. There's a lot of text on these. I'm going to read these out for people. But what I'd love to do now is start getting your expertise and getting everyone involved on how to respond to reviews. Like I said, I feel that probably a lot of you, whether it's responding to reviews on actual text on TripAdvisor, or it's actually responding, a complaint, something like that, you're probably pretty good at it. But you start to show, each other how to do this. And I could talk about this whole time, but everyone's going to be a little bit unique on how they want to, show their brand, respond to reviews. Lots of different ways to think about it. So let's get right into it. And I'm not afraid to call on people. Maybe Kim or Amber would call on people too. They know anyone who's good at this. So the first one, what do I want to do? This first one is actually for a hotel. I'm going to have a hotel, an attraction, and a restaurant for all of these. Reading through it, the review was a bubble score of 2. It says bad service. The restaurant was extremely busy. We had reservations and were seated relatively quickly. Placed a drink order, ordered shrimp cocktails. Drinks took a long time, 30 minutes to arrive. Server explained that the bar was backed up, which is completely understandable. The drinks arrived. 2 drinks were wrong. It goes into detail. One ordered an iced tea and had to request it again. The shrimp cocktail, the one thing we craved all day and looked forward to all week, never came out. Several tables around ordered after us and received their drinks and shrimp cocktails in the meantime. After about an hour, all food and apps, really pretty long, arrived, and then all at the same time. We requested the shrimp cocktail again. Several minutes passed. We finished our meal. No shrimp cocktail. I think this person really wanted the shrimp cocktail, as we can see. But another drink order was placed. Several minutes more passed. Server finally returned to let us know he didn't see the shrimp cocktails. Did we still want them? At this point, we were beyond finished with our meals. Still no drinks from the second order. Reluctantly, we said no to the shrimp cocktail. This person keeps going on and on and on as the review, but you could see they're passionate about it. Disappointing trip, to say the least. I understand restaurants get busy and servers have off nights. Unfortunately, it happens to be on our visit. So a bunch of different things we can look at. One thing down at the bottom, let's see if I can get my mouse to work again. It's actually over here. I can just point. You can actually say if something was helpful. So you can start to see how many people are actually using that information as they go forward. So that was just one that thanked Heather C. in this case. This was done 4 weeks ago, and actually from the mobile phone. Can't read too much about that, but you can see mobile versus desktop, how many people are using different things and how to look at it that way. There is a management response to this, but before we get into it, look to either things that you would point out, ways that you would respond. You don't have to get too in-depth, but feel free to take it and run. Anyone have any thoughts before we look at the actual management response? No one? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd probably respond and offer a free shrimp cocktail the next time they came.
It's really yeah, good sense of humor. Yeah, I like it. The only thing about offering something free, because it's really good to be saying, hey, hope we can do something for you. I see it a bunch, but it can be, start to get people that want to respond and actually just get something for free, then they do exactly that. And if that's always, hey, I've worked, through college and high school, I worked at restaurants that did that. I'd go to my manager, he'd say, oh, they complained they didn't like it. Yep, it's free. So some people have that for an idea. I think it's just fine. Also be careful, because in kind of why I'm getting this back and forth, because there's a lot of things that could come up. Don't entice people for free things to do reviews, because we don't allow that on TripAdvisor. You can't go in and say, hey, if he goes to review, we're going to give you this free ice cream or this free coupon. It's not allowed. So just, I don't think, you didn't say that obviously, but no, it's like actually thinking about, I mean, already genuine, original, thinking about what they're saying. Yeah, you respond to exactly what they're talking about. Yeah, maybe you even get the person or the server that they were talking to that actually served them, try to figure out who it was. This can be an operations thing. I mean, what it sounds like to me, having worked in the restaurant business, this guy was new. He probably didn't know that he had to make a shrimp cocktail himself, and that's why it never came up, and he had no idea what a shrimp even was. Tell that full story is what it comes back to. Honestly, this person is really long. What ends up happening some of the time with these reviews, I don't know that I would read this whole review as a consumer. We have some people in here that are already using TripAdvisor. I'm going through, I'm done at the end of that. It's just like, hey, you said a lot here, and I know you're emotional, shrimp cocktail, I got it. You could come back and just respond to it. They might even read your management response versus theirs. Just keep it succinct. Hey, understood about the shrimp cocktail. Come in, we'd love to give you a complimentary shrimp cocktail. Maybe, a couple drinks, depends on the state that you're in. You can't really do free drinks all the time. But really try to say, hey, the full story is, I know Gregory, whoever it was, they don't put a name in here, was the waiter. He was actually new coming on. Really appreciate your patience, and hope you end up coming back. Just a full story there. So let's get right into it. So the general manager actually responds. Thank you for taking time to leave us your feedback. While feedback is such as this is not always what we hope to hear, it is a critical tool for us to improve our service. For giving us this opportunity, we thank you. I've taken note of your comments and will be sure to follow up with our service management team. If you have any further details in regards to your visit, please don't hesitate to contact me at any time. I'll let you know because I looked through these. This was like a copy and paste. The person did a little bit of this every time. It can be good, but it gets to start to sound disingenuous when you just have this. I actually, for instance, I won't say where because I'm being videotaped and this is going to go all around the web. I stayed at a property and ended up reviewing it, and the person actually did exactly this. They said, hey, email us if you want, and we'll talk about it later. They didn't respond. So consumers aren't, stupid. They're going to go in, and even though, it might not have been that bad, it doesn't end up, the person could come back and be like, oh, well, I tried staying here again. The management doesn't actually really care. So you want to make sure that it shows you, this is all that they're seeing, the whole story. It shows that you care. Actually speak to, like you said, you could have said something about the shrimp cocktail. It's really, really easy. Made it a joke, made it a little bit lighter. Oh, the actual restaurant has a sense of humor. Anything else from this? I mean, there's a lot that you could take away, honestly, but other pieces, anyone?
I just always address them personally. I always use their name so that they can see it's not copy and pasted.
Yep.
And if somebody gets that specific, you should be specific.
Yeah.
And really do appreciate the feedback, because to me it's a learning. It's a learning. I mean, we all screw up.
Yeah.
And it's nice when. And I always say it's nice when they tell you,
Mhm.
because what about other people that don't tell you? And then you can't act, you can't change your operation.
Imagine
Yeah.
the shrimp cocktails you missed. That is the real question.
No, it's exactly that. The biggest thing that you can use this for, we've been talking so much about your online reputation. Don't forget that it could be an operations thing. Maybe that person, I'm just calling him Gregory, we don't actually have a name. Maybe Gregory needs to get fired or have a serious talking to, that could be an easy thing. Oh, well, Greg, you keep having these reviews come up, and I know that your tables, let's look at you a little bit more seriously. Or you can use that as an operations piece. It's so easy to do. You're not paying for this. A lot of people, what's really cool is they'll incentivize, and it's a little bit of a wishy-washy thing, but you can incentivize your, let's say, a wait staff, so your staff, to get reviews. You can't incentivize people to review on TripAdvisor, but as they get mentioned in a review or something, I've seen that a lot of the time. That can be a great way to get them to do better, actually be accountable.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you straight up. I mean, we were, not too long on, but I thought we had a pretty good operation. we're way down, and why can't I get this going? And I went and got the cards, and I started giving them out, and I still wasn't getting, and I told the server, I said, all right, I got them all sat down. I said, for every time you got a favorable 5-star review, I'll buy you the lunch, I mean, I want you to get out there, take care of your guests, give them a card, say, please review us, get some feedback, because I knew we had to increase the amount of reviews, because just like you said, it's skewed, you got one good, one bad, well, man, you got to build them up. And that really helped us out. It really did. So now we're number 1 in Saginaw on TripAdvisor. So it took some time, took some doing, but you really got to get the reviews. And then you got to, you got to take care of the bad ones too. But as soon as I get a review, I respond right away. I try to get it done right away, within 24 hours. Because as a consumer, that's what I do. I look and see, wow, they reviewed it. I mean, that's some good reviews, some good feedback. You look at about 10 of them. You can see when you got a nut job or not. And really pick through, whenever we go out of town, me and my wife, we always go to TripAdvisor. It's a great tool. It really is.
I was going to back up because you had a really good point. This was 4 weeks ago, and you responded within a week, so it was pretty good. 24 hours is amazing, and it's great because then that person actually, it's obviously this was emotional to the person who did the review, so hopefully you can get to them. They might even be in your community, so they're talking to other people about their experience and not probably just here. But yeah, getting on top of that, and then there's a lot of ways, just like you talk about, to end up managing up from that actual staff member. Yeah.
Does the customer get notified when the company responds?
Yep. Yeah, they also get notified, and this is why it's really probably just an easy way to learn more about how these are working. They also get notified as you get more and more people viewing that review. So it's kind of a cool, hey, you just got 1,000 people or 200,000 people that looked at this review that you did. And then you can go in and actually see your likes. It's the social media system. You can get badges. You can get all kinds of different swag and everything that way. So good question. You can always come back to this one. Let's go on to, it's a food tour, but it's an attraction. And a lot of these, I don't think they're inherently bad. I tried to pick ones that were a little bit, kind of in between because they talk about good things. October 26, 2016, again on mobile. Just a lot of people using their phones to be able to do it. Fun, but felt cheated. Great organization, easy to pick a tour, pay the tour, get a reminder. Our guide was friendly and professional. Interesting restaurants were picked. At the same time, we cannot say that the level of provided information was impressive, rather superficial. Portions catered at each stop were very modest. Only last stop served pasta that filled the stomach spelled wrong. Otherwise, we would leave hungry. We and several other participants felt like losers that had paid $70 for a few pizzas, 10 grams of foie gras, and a clam. Wine was nice, though. We got a feeling that restaurants hosted us for free as consumer advertised, and all money went to tour organizers. I can speak tonight, which was a bit too much. What also pissed off was advertisement of other services and partners. Interesting. That's actually harder to read than when I read it the first time. Grammatical on their side, we can't really worry about it too much. Initial thoughts from anyone?
Sounds to me like someone didn't read the fine print.
No, it's a really good point of managing expectations. We're getting back to operations. Sometimes a lot of what you can see from this is that I actually had one of these, and I was trying to find it before, where someone went through and they said, oh, we didn't get enough wine. They actually did out the math for 14 people. It was 2.11 ounces of wine, and we were unimpressed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is a food tour. Wine was like a plus or like an added value. But maybe the actual business owner can go in, or even the tour guide, and be like, hey, we have little samples of wine. Hope you guys enjoy it. Just a little pairing for a taste to wet your whistle. Feel free, and maybe they even say this, go buy a bottle if you really like it. Something like that. They're upselling, of course, and to this person's fact, they didn't really like that either. But you can start incorporating pieces of that. It's just managing that expectation of the actual consumer. I wouldn't say do or change things off one review, but if this comes up again and again, you're probably seeing a common thread and say, hey, maybe we should do something here. Even though I know and I'm doing this business how I want to, people are expecting something else. It's a good point. Other things? Everyone's so excited. There we go. So, yeah, I know.
I mean, people are writing these on their phone?
People wrote the other one on the phone, and maybe that's a little bit of what it was. This is the management response. Just like what you said, and I don't think we can even read some of this. I'm having trouble reading some of it. I think it's too long already, because people probably, this is management response, they probably aren't going to be reading through all of this. The other one is a little bit long, hard to read. But they do address the person by name. It's their screen name or whatever you want to call it, their account name on Tripadvisor. Thank you for joining us on the tour. Thank you for your feedback through the booking process and your tour guide. They're saying thank you. They're being grateful. All of our guides have a passion for introducing guests and visitors alike to Seattle's incredible culinary scene. We were disappointed to learn that you were not happy with all of the tasting locations on your tour. We feature 7 tasting locations. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit because it's long. They go through the different honorees, along with foie gras and award-winning Serious Pie Pizza mentioned. So they're actually completing the story. Something that I was talking about before. It can be good. Maybe this one's a little bit long, but they're going through and like filling in those spots of where were they going. Oh, free advertising. Boom. The award-winning, Serious Pie Pizza mentioned. We also taste razor clam chowder and white wine, crab stuffed prawns or pork sliders and short ribs and cocktail wine pairing. You go through, and that's probably a little bit longer than what I would have thought. Hey, pick out a couple of things. You don't need to write a paragraph on trying to do this ad because you've already lost me. I don't care. They already said this. Let's just get to the actual point. Our partners represent some of the best cuisine available in Seattle. Maybe want to be a little bit humble, but you can go either way, completely dependent on how you're trying to put your image forward. As such, we do indeed pay for tastings at our partner locations, so they're answering their specific question. We also share the story of their chefs, owners' history as a way of providing our guests with deeper connection to the places we visit. Neither our guides or, this is grammatical error, neither nor should it savor, receive any sort of incentive for sending guests back to our partner locations. We make recommendations based off years of experience, tasting and sharing Seattle's vibrant culinary scene. Sounds a little bit like that was a bit of copy and paste. As a small business, we appreciate your feedback and saying thank you, but a little bit of a copy and paste probably. We're always looking for ways to continue to improve the guest experience. Hope to have the opportunity to host you again in the future. Again, I know it's long. Other pieces that you might add in or change for this management response?
Well, I would cut it completely in half.
Yeah.
I would say, I feel like you should never, put yourself so forward like that. Like, oh, we represent the best and we're just this, we're so awesome. It's almost like defiling what they've said, kind of like you're wrong because we're so good. Like, how could you have a problem with us? And
It can be combative, which
it's almost like you're arguing with them, which you should. I feel like you need to take emotion out of it as much as possible because
it's hard with text. You don't know how, because I can read this and it's just kind of, it's just factual and everything. The other person could go through just like you're saying and be like,
so,
they're being really combative.
This person's yelling at me, they're trying to fight with me, And so I feel like you need to try to keep it as monotone as possible. Thank you for your feedback. Don't put any emotion in it. So I feel like there's a little hostility behind it. So I would definitely take that out. But other than that, like you said before, I think it probably was an issue of not reading fine lines maybe. And so I would say something we apologize that we didn't present some of the info as clearly as we could have. This is great feedback that we can adjust in the future to make sure our future guests don't have an unsatisfactory experience like you have. Something like that to show that, I feel like too many people will say, oh, thanks for your feedback. We'll greatly use this, but like, that's just a blanket response. Like, I feel like you need to say, we can use this in XYZ ways to help fix XYZ. You know what I mean? So-
Yeah, speak to specific points, basically. Other thoughts, ideas, ways you do it differently? Yeah.
That big paragraph with the lists,
Yeah.
very specific list of all different, they could have just provided maybe 2 examples of the type of foods that were served without it sounding like an advertisement for as many different places.
For sure.
It started off really good. It was like, oh yes, he's doing this, and then it's like, oh, it just became a list of
Some
everything.
of the things we, you know, we had or were offered were maybe 2 things.
Yep.
Like the right ideas.
Aside of just like immediately just taking out that middle paragraph and basically unfortunately dragging the customer back through the entire experience
Right?
through writing. I mean, with all due respect, the individual that was managing the response in a sense, you know, you brought up the whole story, but the last sentence there is what really kind of brings it all in, where he mentions that there was a bonus tasting section.
Mhm.
So it was a bit of a, hey, sorry you had such a horrible experience, but we did actually offer you an additional, you know, bonus tasting. So it was kind of like a, hey, we're sorry, but, you know, we still kind of, there was little extras that you didn't quite pay for, but we kind of helped you out there. But all in all, he definitely could have chopped that in like about 90% off and just said, sorry about the experience, you know, we'd love to have you again and move forward, basically.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's a lot of good things that this GM, as it shows up here, Terry ended up responding to. It was the 26th of October. He responds on the 28th, so with only a few days, and had, you know, most of it. The professional thing is often tough. I think there were a couple things. Maybe it wasn't explicitly grammatically incorrect, but it was a little bit tough to, like, you know, word it in there and a little bit wordy, as we've already said. Yeah, a lot of little things there. Another thing I want to point out as we're going through any of these is you can see, let me get my mouse to show up again. I'll just point to it. So you can see how you can actually report the response as inappropriate. You can do this for either the management response or the actual consumer response. You can do this also for photos. So that's a quick way. Tripadvisor, if you haven't read them, I would go through and actually look at the guidelines. That can be something, whether you're using the forums, you can't actually market yourself, so don't go to the forums and then put your own website in there. It'll get taken down. But with a review, it has to be family friendly. You could try to say with that last one where the person was pissed off that that's not family friendly. There are a lot of little things you can get around. When someone, you know, has a review as a business owner, they don't like it. I'm like, well, let's look at this for the guidelines, and then maybe it's violating one of them. You never know. We don't take it down just because you don't like it, but that's often a thing that, hey, you could just go through and report this, and maybe they'll take it down. They can go up and they can reply again and kind of fix it so that it's family friendly. That's the easiest and biggest one that I usually find, or anything like that. Sometimes they are kind of giving false information. So they're like, oh, it was, an easy one is, you know, just, I can't think of the word now, blanking out. But yeah, just kind of hyperbole is what I'm looking for. It's like, no, it wasn't quite that bad, so you can easily get it taken down for those sorts of reasons. So the last one is going to be the restaurant. Did I have these mixed around? Did I do 2 restaurants? I guess I didn't do a hotel. No, okay, I had these labeled weird. So this is the hotel. I know. It's actually interesting. This gets to one of the points that I think we've already brought up, but I'll talk in a little bit more detail. So July 7th, 2014, horrible bait scam, booked this place through booking.com and was upset when the conditions, with the conditions. It was the only place available for an event in this area. You'll start to feel or find out it's actually New Orleans for Mardi Gras. And as I was checking in, I was told I needed to go to the other sister hotel because I got a king bed. The hotel stated that it had king beds, microwave, fridge. That's why I was able to book a king bed. Felt as if I was scammed. The book here and we will send you there kind of deal. I will be writing a review about the other hotel, New Orleans Midtown Hotel. It was also horrible. So, well, I can go back here. Thoughts, they actually put a photo for this as well. No one? Everyone just wants to leave already? It's just getting towards the end of the day. This one's a little bit, I think, pretty straightforward anyway for how you can look at responding. And I like to show, this is actually how they did the response. So it was the GM. Sincerely sorry to hear you had a bad experience. We were under different management during the years 2013 and 2014. We have taken necessary steps to address the issue that many previous guests have mentioned. The new owner manager have implemented new rules and regulations so that future enjoy their stay. Little typo at the end, maybe fix that. I actually like this way. So this gets to a point that I always like to bring up, is you can actually get reviews taken down for TripAdvisor if you are under new management. So new management, new flagship, something like that. The caveat and why I really like bringing up this one is I don't always recommend doing it. Remember what your ranking score is based off. It's based off the quantity of reviews, quality of reviews, most recent reviews. If you take down all of your reviews for the past because your management started, I don't know what's today, the 13th? No, it's the 12th, tomorrow's the 13th. From October 11th and before, you're not going to have content for a ranking up there. This is a great way to actually manage those expectations and go back and be like, sorry this happened, we're actually new management. Perfect example of a good way to handle this. Still have, hopefully they actually had a good ranking, there's just a couple up there like that. And tell that story. Oh, this isn't going to happen again because that was the old guys. So I like that one. You can also see how this was responded a year later. So there are some cases where I actually end up recommending that. Sometimes just completing that story, if you can actually remember, it's going to be, people go in, I don't know how many people have ever gone in. I usually sort by, okay, what do I see as I scroll through this really quick for reviews? Are they mostly positive? Okay, what's the worst that could happen? And then this will come up as like that one bubble review rating score. So you have that review in there, even if it's a year later. It's never too late to kind of complete that story. So I know that we said we could go online a little bit. I can let everyone, it's already been, when did we start? Wasn't it just 3? So that's just been an hour. So I can let everyone get some snacks, walk around, stretch a little bit. We can go online if we want to. We can have some more conversations. Can always let everyone go early if you like, but like to respect your time first and foremost. We can easily go into the management center and answer some questions that people were having, like online, different things around the area, and see anything you want. So take a quick break and then come right back if you guys want. This is, you want to put in exactly how it's showing up, so I can actually search on the interwebs first.
At least I'm not the only one that calls it that.
Horizons Conference. And you are in Saginaw?
Correct.
So it's on here. It doesn't look like you are on TripAdvisor, unless this is
Yep,
actually.
that's it right there.
Okay, cool.
That's what I was imagining that was going to be on there,
Mhm.
was our garden room buffet. Because it's a daily, essentially a daily lunch restaurant.
Yeah, so this is actually a unique situation and why it's easier to kind of talk through pieces while we get on the actual site. A lot of times, so I've worked in Louisiana, for instance, and they have the actual, not parishes, the actual, completely blanking out on their names. The B&Bs, though, where it's all in one. They actually have a restaurant. They have the actual attraction that you can come to, and then you can actually stay there, of course. And that could be for any B&B, realistically. But they would have 3 different listings then. They'd have the attraction, they have the restaurant, and they have the actual B&B. So you could actually have multiple listings if you were to show up this way. Horizons Garden Room. You could do the conference center as a whole. People are able to do that. One thing that is really easy, I mean, I could even do it here, is just to go in and add one photo. As you see, this is like what people are seeing when they go on your page right now.
Right.
A lot of white space. You're getting a lot of good reviews. You only have 12 so far. It's not a problem. You haven't focused on this. That's where you get a little bit of promotion in there. You can probably get upwards of 30, 50, 100, and so on and so forth. And you can easily see what people are liking, or maybe even, we won't get into it too much unless you want to.
No, please don't.
Yeah, what people are saying. That's just really easy to add that photo. update info. So we go in, this is actually for a restaurant. You could almost probably try to get that listed
Oh,
as an
yeah.
attraction.
Number one.
There's someone in the room. Nice. So the guy in here that worked, what was your name again, sir?
George.
George, who works at this and does it, sits on top. I'm just saying. I'm you know,
Damn.
I'm not.
Great food, great service, buddy.
So I'm looking through. I was just going to show you. It looks, when you don't have a picture, it just shows up as we get.
You get the
Title
nachos
was-
up there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of people do have pictures though.
they're so good.
But realistically, you don't have to be the number one because it's not your focus on trying to be best food in town. I'm assuming.
I'm
You're-
sorry. Was that
Are you? Yeah. So are you?
Oh, well, I mean, we just want to be known as, you know, a nice, elegant buffet, you know,
Mhm.
for lunch. You know, the price point is there for what you receive, you know.
Yeah.
We have 3 entrees, a full salad bar, you know, dessert with 2 soups made fresh daily, you know, for under $10, and that includes your drink, so.
So quick, easy things that you can. I mean, your website's right here. It's down at the bottom, so I'm going to try to scroll past quickly all the stuff. For menu, it is not on here. You can easily get your menu on here, so people get a lot of those questions
Can this
answered.
menu, if I may ask, can it be, ours is done daily.
It's a little bit harder, but I would end up directing people to the actual website in that case.
Yep.
Yeah, because you don't have any menu on here right now. I was looking to see if it showed up. You could have the things that are staple too, and kind of have it listed that way. We'll go in. George just left, of course. To other things. So that's an example. You could do like the things to do. We have the children's zoo showing up, of course. Is this the picture that you guys chose?
I have no idea. I am somewhat new.
No, no problem at all.
So I haven't managed this at all
Yeah.
since I
Um,
started.
You can choose your main photo. So that can be really cool. We probably don't want to do that daily if you're like changing around the foods or something, but showcase, you know, however often you have time for. And this is actually a pretty cool idea if they're showcasing, I don't even know what this animal is.
It's a cotton top tamarin.
It's a what?
A cotton top tamarin.
Cotton top tamarin.
Yep.
Okay. What kind of species is that? Like, what does that come from? Is
It's
it?
a monkey.
It is a
It's
monkey?
a
Okay.
brown monkey.
It kind of looks like that, or almost a dog, but
It's
you know.
very
Yeah.
dog.
It's a tiny little monkey. It's like this.
But this is a cool talking point where you could put that up, and I'm wondering, they get to choose their main photo, so if they actually chose this, then they could go through and choose what they're showcasing. So it could be a new exhibit. Hey, we just got new koalas in, so they're going to have a koala picture as their main photo. And people go, oh, I want to go now. Lots of cool things that you can do there. And, well, do you mind if I go into
No,
the...
I don't care.
Okay. So
I
I'm
haven't
actually-
been in here, so I don't.
be helpful. It's more information. It looks like it's doing well. I could even go in for George, but oh, he came back. George, I was gonna.
What about me? Welcome back outside if you want.
So an easier way, if we go to tripadvisor.com/owners, the search you have to be really specific. So I just end up copying and pasting most of the time on how it's spelled. Otherwise, you're going to come up. Remember, we're worldwide, so what was it? Over 7 million different businesses. You're going to have some that'll show up. You can even do, if you're just like, I don't know, if you're a McDonald's owner, McDonald's and then put Saginaw, Michigan, and it will show up that way too. You might have to be that specific. Oh, I'm doing this wrong as I'm talking. So I'm going a roundabout way.
If we decide to change our name, is that easy to do?
Yeah, actually. Let's get right in here, and then I'll try to show you. So I'm just going in a roundabout way because I can't really go into your management center. I'm logged in. I don't have any special access or anything. I'm just on Facebook, connected through to TripAdvisor. So I'm going a roundabout way to get in here to show you. Those are the widgets that you can see. Congratulations, by the way. You have a certificate of excellence. Overview. So it's going to keep asking me this, but really easy. When you want to go update your information, you just go to manage your listing. It's not going to let me. It's going to try to kick me back and say, hey, you need to actually claim your listing. But it's as simple as that, and then you would have just in the back over here different information like your website and everything. If you are going through and you're a good Samaritan and you just love doing TripAdvisor because that's what you do all day long, you can just go in and it should be right under the, yep, right beside the map. Improve this listing. It's going to be on any listing except for accommodations are a little bit different because they're handled differently. Improve this listing is going to be on the restaurants and attractions. And then you can just do it this way. This is a consumer going in, so it's not quite as high as priority. But if you see something that's wrong, or maybe a good example is someone that's actually trying to take control and look like you, you're like, no, that's not my brand, and you want to fix it. This is basically, you suggest it, we check it. Or sometimes it's, hey, there's a duplicate. So go in and improve this listing. This is just a duplicate of mine. Someone else seemed to put it in, and I don't want it there because I want all of mine going to my main ranking here. So you can do all of that info there. But definitely through the management center is probably how this is going to happen the quickest. Adding hours, you might go in or go back and be like, hey, we can add hours for Tripadvisor. All good questions. Let's go back in here. So it's pretty easy getting in through here. Get online help. You can click on that, see your total number of reviews, your ranking. As I had said, if you scroll down to the bottom, use your discount to get those business cards as George was talking about. And you also, there are a lot of other things we can click off into Vistaprint and get all kinds of different, really kind of swag, but different printed materials through Vistaprint. This is a 40% off through the Tripadvisor store. Review Express, guides and articles. This is going to take us, hopefully it actually goes, to the Tripadvisor Insights, like I said. Anyone have a question? Want to try to stump me? Anyone? We have the hoteliers in here. They could probably try to stump me. No? I was going to just use Tripadvisor Insights. Anyway, we could end up doing, what was one of the studies that was really cool that we wanted to have more information on? Focusrite. Actually, let's do the Cornell University one. So this whole has the entire study it's going to link to, and you can even download it. Let me see. Reference is this. There we go. So for those people that want to go and be highly educated and be a pro, or you just want to print this out and put it on your desk so it looks like, you know, you're really busy at work studying through Cornell University Impact of Social Media on Logic Performance. It's that easy. Any questions that you have, honestly, I just go into Tripadvisor Insights and tons of studies, information. When you get bored at work, because we know all of us are sitting around with nothing to do, right? So people still don't have questions. Huh.
I had a question for.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was curious. This hasn't happened but once, and it happened with Google. I don't know what your process is as far as getting a review off. If something happens, like give you for instance what happened in our restaurant a couple of years ago. A guest came in with somebody, and obviously he was under the influence of something, and just gave my managers just a really hard time, and threatened with harm, and he left. But he put a review on Google, and it was just totally inappropriate, wrong, lied, and it was just one of those things. I responded to it, but I did contact Google, and they refused to take it down.
Did they give a reason why?
They just, based on their parameters of what they thought was appropriate and not appropriate. Even the guy threatened the manager on duty, and what happened was there was a guest that was within earshot of what happened. They actually put a review on Google, then just said this is not what happened.
Yeah.
Much to my benefit. But I was kind of disheartened a little bit that they refused to take it off, and I gave them the whole scenario. I mean, we all want to call police on the guy, So
yeah.
How harsh? How bad does it have to be for Tripadvisor? You obviously have a set of guidelines.
Yeah, that's what. And you're probably watching as I'm going through. That's the easiest one because sometimes it's a little bit wishy-washy when you're trying to figure out, okay, it's one person versus the other. So the best example to even get in front of this would be doing exactly that. I would say, hey, we had this person come in, contact Tripadvisor in your management center. were ranting and raving. I don't know, does anyone watch South Park and seen it's not about, Tripadvisor, but it's about another review site, all of that stuff. It's not allowed to be able to go in and say, hey, we had a horrible time, even if you didn't. We're going to go on whatever review site and give you a bad review, unless you give us free food. That's not allowed. We take that really seriously.
Yeah.
So that's an example of that. But I would go in and notify us first, because we'll be able to say, oh, we were expecting this. Now we can just take that down immediately. Otherwise, it's a he said, she said.
Right.
Could still end up
I
doing
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, just like you said, the guidelines. Family friendly is the first and foremost. The unfortunate thing that can get frustrating is that we take it down, they make it better or more family friendly, repost it. That's completely allowed. Other things, sometimes if anyone's done a review, it can sometimes get blocked if it's not a relevant piece. That can be a catch-all on a lot of the time. It's not on your side, but kind of speaking more to it. And I want to get back to another thing of reporting and actually our fraud team. So I'm going to talk to it more, but kind of looking through these one thing at a time. It gets frustrating. I get some of my clients even that come back and they're like, I just put a review and you rejected it. I'm like, well, if you didn't really say anything, it's not really going to be helpful to anyone else. It can get rejected for that reason. Unbiased, sometimes you can get into these. Family friendly is the biggest one. This is actually a little bit of a piece. I think it's more than a year out. You can't review something. So it wouldn't be for yours as well, but if it was over a year ago that they ended up coming to your business, your destination, anything like that, you can't, that can be taken down. If you're like, oh, I remember this person, it was over a year ago, or they might even have referenced it in their review. Non-commercial, easy. Respectful of private information. Maybe they start saying first and last names. That's going to be something you take it off for that reason. But let's actually go, see if there's anything else. Have it here at the end. I'm going to send you this too. I don't always go over it, but if you ask the question, then I will. So there's an appendix here. Talking more about our fraud team. So we do take it really, really seriously, just like you're talking about, because fraud isn't always just someone going in and lying blatantly. Sometimes it can be businesses that are going to be going in and trying to get all kinds of reviews, paying for reviews and everything like that. It's not allowed on Tripadvisor. We have algorithms in place. We have people going through. We have an entire team for that. You might have even read kind of about Tripadvisor a little bit more and how we're preventing that, and different awards that we're getting or people that we're working with to prevent different fraud and passing that along. I'm going to give you these, but it's secondhand information or something, hearsay basically. It's not allowed. It's not your original reply. Reviews from a non-recent trip we already went over, reviews containing personal exclusive information, not allowed. So actual examples. And it's really cool once you start getting into it how that actually works. So we're looking at it. I'd say the pure and simple thing is just contact us. And feel free to reach out to me if you're having any trouble getting something like that removed. I can't affect Google because Google's Google.
Well, again, I haven't Tripadvisor.
I know.
Google.
Well, thank you. I'm actually grateful to hear that it doesn't happen on Tripadvisor. But it's giving you an idea. It's hard working with some other sites. Facebook is one that I know you get like a whole conversation and it can turn into an argument pretty quick. Sometimes it's just great to delete that thread. Facebook allows you to do that.
Yeah, I had an issue, and again, I'm not, Joe Savvy Facebook guy either. I don't even have a Facebook personal one, but we had a guest that, and I didn't even know you could do this. He created a Facebook profile so he could tear us up. It's something that didn't even happen. And I'm like, why would I go through that extent to do something like that? It's almost mind blowing.
So, and if you know pieces like that, give us that information because we can easily pinpoint IPs and then lock them down on that member specifically, anything. But this is a little bit of information you're going to get on how we're moderating those reviews, process it goes through, everything. I mean, if it's going to have swears or anything like that, it's just automatically thrown out. It's an easy way to get it. Every once in a while, there's really funny things if you ever watch different social media stuff popping up on Tripadvisor, and it's taken down really quickly. But read through reviews sometimes; it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's easier if you report it honestly. So if you ever have trouble with that, just let me know. Reporting it through your management center is going to be the best and easiest way. It's a good question though. Other people, other things?
Yeah, can you show me the frame page? Because you said that there would be like a destination one that you can't necessarily manage, but it would be like.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stuff
And
listed.
sorry, what was the destination that we're looking at? I can just do Saginaw if you want, but.
Frankenmuth?
Oh, Frankenmuth, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to go there. So it's funny as I'm going through and I'm kind of going in sideways to get to different things. I'll let you know, a lot of people aren't coming to TripAdvisor and then they'll do searches, but a lot of people are getting to TripAdvisor the main way through Google. So it's funny, people talk about, oh, well, we have a great website, we have all of this. Well, TripAdvisor's sitting right there, right underneath yours or even on top of yours. And we're also doing like search engine marketing and all this stuff. That's another really big reason to be connecting with TripAdvisor, making sure your website and your info's up there, because if it's not the top source, then it's right below yours for information. Just saying that as I search. So this is the Frankenmuth page on TripAdvisor. This is the actual destination. It has all of the aggregate of all different accommodation, things to do, restaurants, and then the biggest thing that you can end up doing for free is you have this main photo. If we click in, there are all the photos here. These are just all consumer photos.
Okay.
Businesses can add photos too, but what you can do is down at the bottom. You can do this through the owners too. I'm just doing it the easy way. You can add the photos. That's really the quickest, easiest thing that you can do. But you can also go to Promote Frankenmuth, and you can get a couple, at least, social media buttons. So like I said, we do this all for you, so you don't have to do all kinds of different code and everything. Social media buttons, rave reviews, and you can choose and optimize how you want it to look, any of those pieces there. And then just grab that code and put it on your website. There are all kinds of little things, like I work with Great Lakes Bay region, and other destinations, of course, are represented within the area that you can do if you're looking at it from a DMO side. I don't recommend doing a lot of these things as a destination or a DMO for all of your partners. It would become probably 3 jobs in one. So if you're going through some quick things that you could think about, trying to put your destination in the best light, just free things, is going through, like I was scrolling through before, making sure there's a photo for each of these. I wouldn't claim any. Like, unfortunately, there's the Frankenmuth Historical Museum that looks like it has a great photo. It could have a little bit more better framing or something. I'd go to them and mention, hey, you know, you can control that main photo on there, but the people that don't have a photo, which I'm actually finding a lot that do, so that's great. I'm not finding any that don't. Restaurants are often the big thing. You don't find a photo. But you could just quickly go in and end up adding a photo if I could find one that didn't. But it's pretty easy. As you saw, you can already do it for the destination there.
So there's technically no, like, I wouldn't be able to have like an admin account for Frankenmuth as a destination.
There's nothing really to manage.
Yeah.
You aren't reviewed, but you could have the visitor center on there. Then
Yeah.
as an attraction, you would end up managing that. You can create your own account. A lot of people, what they'll go do, as I was talking about the forums, each destination has their own forums. And then you could start to respond as kind of like an admin if you wanted to put like Frankenmuth MI or your actual brand. First and foremost, you can go through and then start responding. The only thing is we have different guidelines for the forums. You can't promote yourself in forums. So you have your own page. You can easily talk about yourself. You can respond to certain things. So I'm trying to see what's perfect here. And you could go in, and what you might do is actually say, hey, maybe week to week, month to month, start to find, oh, so-and-so should respond to this. I'm going to give them a list. I have destinations that do that. Actually in Michigan, they'll go through and they decide, we have a couple bad reviews and I know this person might not go in and actually respond to these. So I'm going to let them know, kind of like write it up, decide, hey, I'm going to give this to you, and ask those businesses to start responding to those reviews. It can also put it first and foremost in their mind so that they're like, oh, this is too much, I can't do this. Like, just respond to this one time.
Yeah.
There's lots of little things, honestly, and there's lots of little ways to look at it. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, kind of. I saw before, like, if you go back to Spring Moose, like
Mhm.
the main thing. So yeah, so it says Spring Tourism, like after you click on it, it says Spring Tourism.
Right here.
So, we did a Tripadvisor campaign before I was hired
Mhm.
a while ago.
It was before I was on too, because I remember.
Probably. So, I guess I don't really have a question with that. I was just wondering if I had any extra stuff that I could do because of that, but.
There are
Really
paid
not.
opportunities for DMOs, much like the Great Lakes Bay region is doing. I'm starting to talk with Annie a little bit more about how we can expand on what the Great Lakes Bay region is doing, because they're doing a lot. We actually just have to renew the ability, they're sponsoring the page and everything. So we're going to talk more about those opportunities. It's probably just a longer conversation. But feel free, grab a card or talk to Annie. There's going to be some cool things in years to come. It might not be just tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everything's a process.
Oh,
You already know as being a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, cool.
Mhm. Other people, good questions. Anything? Denny, did you have? You're like a pro at this. You've been very quiet.
I've been concentrating.
Yeah, and I know like we have 30 minutes left that I do not need to fill for you guys. You've been really pretty interactive. Just making sure if you do have more questions, I'm here and give you as much of my time as I can. Yeah. Kim.
I talked to someone that was not able to come here, and you probably already covered this already, but she wanted to know if you could have expiration dates on reviews so they could fall off, whether they were good or bad. She just thought there were way too many to have to scroll through. Can you just kind of comment on that?
So it's a good question. No, I can't tell you where TripAdvisor is going to go because I'm not the CEO, anything like that. But I can definitely bring it up. And as we put this on Facebook, maybe that question will get a little bit, or YouTube or whatever, wherever it might end up, circulated around. It's a really good point. I think it would really be probably not the best where our algorithm, like we were talking about, to put this in a bigger picture, is off the quantity of reviews in part. And of course, the quality, you'd lose both of those as the three pieces: quantity of reviews, quality of reviews, and recency. You kind of have two of those that we're missing if we started dropping off those. And that's probably the biggest reason why we haven't done it. The other thing, as we've talked about already, you can end up, if it's new management, for instance, dropping those reviews off. So there's a lot of ways that you could, if you didn't like old reviews or something, could try to, like I said, go through and see, well, this one's not family friendly or this one's not relevant, and start reporting them. I'm not saying that they're all going to be taken down, but if that's your prerogative and your initiative and you feel really passionately about it, there's some ways you could look at kind of doing that. Anyone else?
Can you get a comment taken down if it's the wrong location?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. There's actually even, and you're just talking about a review, I assume, right?
Right.
Review or photo. We haven't talked too much about photos, but it's the same way. Let me actually go in and show you. So I'm not going to click on anything. We're in the zoo right now. But problem with this review, it's right there. I'm just a consumer. You can actually go in as the management and do it. So these are all the things. It doesn't even, you don't have to read the guidelines first. Family friendly or inappropriate. It's not consistent with the rating given. That's a big thing that actually ends up happening. People not as tech savvy or maybe just misclick because they're on their phone, ended up putting that, and that's something you can actually report. Wrong business location. And that's, did you say duplicate or wrong business location? That's what you're talking about.
Wrong.
Yeah. So it's right there, first and
Yeah, it's
in the middle.
not through you guys, but we're dealing with something right now at the hotel where a person posted a review, said that we had a cracked window, the service was bad, all this kind of stuff. When we sent a reply back to him, like, are you sure you stayed at our hotel because we can't find? It was actually one in Escanaba he thought he was doing,
Yep.
and not us. But we can't get it taken off, not through you guys, but through a different service. We can't get it taken off. We emailed that email back to them saying he's saying it's not us
Yeah.
and everything, but they still won't take it down.
Yeah. Glad to hear it's not us. I
Who is
wish
it?
you best of luck.
Huh?
But,
Who is it?
It's actually through our hotel chain.
Oh, okay.
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 I won't comment on that then. Best of luck with it though.
But yeah,
Uh,
it's just frustrating because even he apologized and
Yeah.
said, hey, it's the wrong one. I don't want you guys getting, you know.
It does bring up a point though that I haven't touched on, where you actually have the ability. So, again, I'm just a consumer. I can go in. These people that I've reviewed doesn't really show me who they are. They have a cool little picture, but you can actually click on them. Goes up to their profile, and then I can just message them.
Okay.
So if you wanted to take this offline, you can literally take it not offline, but in the back, and then be like, response for anything, and then start talking to them, and actually, get to them. You can't ask people or incentivize people to take down a rating. You can't say, hey, if we give you something free, will you take down this rating? That's not allowed. But you could be very nice and very kind and ask them, hey, I see that this happened. Really sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then start having that conversation. I've seen it happen where people actually take down the review, but be really careful because you can't insist on it. So that's another way to think about it. So many little things that we could get into. We were talking about the tags, little things in here. And this is how people might search for the different pieces here.
So if we have, and I don't know if we do have any of these, but, so say we have a business that no one has ever claimed said business. Will they still appear? Like how does an account, I guess, get created?
So it can be from the business owner, which I'm trying to push on you guys. It can also be from just a reviewer, a consumer. So if I go up here, right now, and I click, it's on my name. I can do, I guess I have to go to the main page first. Find out. There's a way to hit review. Oh, come on here. You can see I haven't done it in a few days. We just did a rebrand, so much easier to do this before. I think I'm just missing it. It's not create a trip. Did I do it right here? Well, there is a way to do it as a consumer. I can promise you. But yeah, so let's actually go in. I was going to show you some examples of ones that probably were added by consumers, although it could have been a business owner, which is Wendy's and Subway, just like I kind of mentioned. Not necessarily travel, although they're easy staples that you can go to. It has the business information in here. Someone probably added it in, but likely not the business owner because it doesn't have any reviews, anything there. The person just added that in. So I'm not sure that Wendy's would be one that you want to go and add more information in, but you could easily just add that photo. But a consumer can add that in too.
And so what ways could we manage partner listings without having to directly contact them? It would just be kind of through the consumer side?
So technically, you as the destination could be an admin.
Okay.
It's going to be harder to get admin access to a hotelier because there's a lot more things in there, but like a restaurant and hotel,
Well, and all of our hotels, I would say, manage their
it's usually
listings.
the
Yeah.
case, exactly.
It's more of the attractions that I would say
Yep.
need help.
So you could go in and do that. I just don't recommend it because you're probably going to end up having to do it for all of them. Sometimes there's like a state park where you might just go in and want to be able to respond to that one review once a year or something, and no one but the actual destination ends up promoting. You don't have a marketing team for a state park a lot of the time. So that could be a reason that you do it. But yeah, you can go in because you're the destination marketing organization
Yeah.
for all of those entities. Technically, you have clout there, and go to claim access for admin and replying and managing those pages.
Okay.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Meaning like with your time.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I'm curious. They've changed that around. For doing the reviews. It used to be right at the top. Maybe it's just on the main site. I'm too far in. Well, Well, if we don't have any other questions, I can give you guys cards. If you have, questions that come up, just didn't want to ask in front of a big, large public audience. And then if you have questions that come up over just a period of time or anything, and for further, like, kind of more in-depth pieces to kind of build out those pieces. Yeah.
Do another question. So, if destination was to claim like the DMO access or DMO admin access, how much, like, is there a limit of how many businesses you can be on?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had multiple ones, and it'll create another tab up at the top here for your actual business,
Okay.
and then it'll have like a drop down for your different businesses. Maybe that's the case. I've never had someone, because like I say, I'd be really careful of that. Go upwards of maybe like 2 or 3 businesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's like different hospitality places that have multiple ones. So we thought of that. For sure, there's hospitality management that'll respond to tons of different hotels.
Once you attach yourself, can you detach yourself? Like, say we had a partner that they've got nothing going on, they're like, hey, just help me get started, and then I'll take the reins. Like, could we do the admin, get everything looking good, all their info in, everything's like bright and shiny, and then be like, here you go, and then like, get out?
The quick answer is yes, I've seen that happen. Usually it's in more of a case where we were talking about earlier. There's an old admin and you have kind of 2 there. I've actually found it hard where you have one admin, and I'm not on that team, so I can't say exactly why. You have one admin and you're trying to remove yourself. And I don't know why that's the case. But you have 2, yeah, I haven't seen a problem with it. So you can actually remove people because employees get done and,
Yeah.
you have to change over the email.
Cool. I think that's all.
Yeah. No, all good questions. Oh, we have Wiser up here, the owl, if anyone's seen the TV show or TV commercials. Anyway, cool. Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you taking the abundance of time. Honestly, I think over an hour and a half for everyone sitting here listening is a long time. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. Thank you again for attending them.
Thank you.